Greetings and welcome to today's educational program, Using Quality Cost with Lean by Doug Wood. This is your moderator, Shobha Mittal with ASQ Quality Management Division. Today we have the distinct pleasure of hearing from Doug Wood. Please join me in welcoming him. Douglas C. Wood has worked for over 40 years in the areas of cost of quality, office waste, root cause analysis, performance measurement. He has helped others with various ASQ certifications in quality auditing, management, and engineering. He has also taught auditing, Lean Six Sigma, cost of quality, statistics, and failure modes and effects analysis. He has four ASQ certifications, and these are CQE, CQA, SSBB, and CMQOE. His publications by ASQ Quality Press include the Certified Manager of Quality Organizational Excellence Handbook, 5th edition, which is also co-edited by Sandy Futterer, the Executive Guide to Understanding the Implementing Quality Cost Programs, Reduce Operating Expenses and Increase Revenue, and the third one is the Principles of Quality Cost, Financial Measures for Strategic Implementation of Quality Management, 4th edition. His firm, DC Wood Consulting LLC, has worked with clients in manufacturing, healthcare, and transactional businesses. The company's website is www.dcwoodconsulting.com. And so, without any further delay, I hand it over to Doug with a lot of pleasure. So, Doug, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Shobha. Uh, and as always, it's a pleasure to be asked to present to this group. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to cover these materials with you guys. Today we're going to combine quality cost and lean. These are two topics that aren't often covered at the same time, so we're going to kind of do a cross-talk between the two of them. Our objectives tonight are to gain a little bit broader view of lean. What could lean be called when you're talking to senior management? You see, this is a way to show your leadership what lean does. Beyond just reducing inventory costs, what does lean actually do for you? We're going to create a financial metric for your lean projects. And many times lean projects don't have a financial side. They look at saving time. In our agenda tonight, we're going to first do an overview of quality costs. What are they? Real quick. Then we're going to talk about lean and quality costs and how these two intersect. And we're going to finish up today with a lean example and walk through measuring the cost of quality for a kind of a lean case study. First of all, let's talk about the definition for the four parts of quality cost. Some people call it cost of poor quality. Okay, so that's internal failure, external failure. That's just the last two. The others round out quality cost. In other words, the money you spend to prevent things. The original terms were prevention, appraisal, and internal failure and external failure. That's what you'll find in most of the literature out there. However, our language has shifted on us now. We use different words today for the same things. Instead of prevention, I maintain we should call that investment. Instead of just expenses to avoid non-conformance, investment is expenditures to make improvements occur. Appraisal should probably be called monitoring. Appraisal is a funny word, okay? Who uses the word appraisal anymore? But monitoring is used all the time. As before, though, it's the same definition. Expenses to measure conformance. It tells you what's going on. Internal failure should properly be termed waste. That's what it is. Take the word failure out of there. It's just waste. This is expenses that occur before you deliver your product or service. And then external failure, I like the new word much better. Downstream consequences. See, that's a much broader definition. This is things that happen after you've delivered, after you've completed your service. These are expenses that occur much later. So this terminology, investment, monitoring, waste, and downstream consequences, I think basically cover the ground a lot better than the older terms. Now let's talk about what lean measures. Value-added seconds? Tact time? How about single-digit minute changeovers? Or cycle time? Or equipment available uptime? These are all time measures, aren't they? Mostly what lean measures is time. However, is time equal to money? We've heard that, time is money. Is it really equal? Well, sort of. But you see, not really. Not really, because I don't think your leaders really care about saving time. See, if they really cared about saving time in minutes and seconds, they would do strategic planning in time and minutes and seconds. What do they measure everything with? What is the key measure of strategic planning? All strategy is planned, discussed, and executed in money terms. Whatever your currency is, dollars, pounds, euros, reals, whatever your money is, strategy is executed and planned and discussed in money terms. So if you can't speak about money, your leadership isn't going to listen to you. The first major way to convince your leaders of what you're doing and whether you're successful is to show costs and to show the return on your investments. That's the way to talk to them. Now, the second way to convince leaders is to tell them a story. But we're not going to cover stories here, okay? That's not in the scope of this talk. But yes, obviously telling a story is a good thing to convince leaders that there are indeed humans at the end of the investments. So why are quality costs important? Well, you see, quality costs show the return on investment of your quality programs, whether it be Lean or Six Sigma or continuous improvement, whatever. You invest money on these projects, and your leadership expects to see a return on their investment. That's what they want. That's what you have to talk to them about. Quality cost metrics will help focus your lean efforts where they're most needed. So here we have a floor plan. And obviously somebody's looking at it very closely with a magnifying glass. And they're saying, where does our material flow? And where are the bottlenecks? See, this is a typical lean kind of thing to do. But where are your major bottlenecks? Well, if you know where your waste is in dollar terms, now you can start talking about the dollars invested to reduce it. Again, you see that's a much more practical way to discuss that with your leadership. Also, if you have an ongoing lean project and you're working over a period of time, yeah, you can chart your progress with a line chart or a bar chart, or you can say, oh, look how many minutes we've saved here. But it's difficult sometimes to say how many minutes were saved in Department A compared to how many minutes were saved in Department B. And you can't compare them because there's no logical, A and B make different products. So if you look at it in dollar terms, now you can go across your organization and say, where is my lean? Where is my lean giving me the best return right now? The other thing is, you can take quality cost and you can apply it to an individual project. Here you see a Gantt chart. The textbook quality cost looks at a total quality cost for the whole corporation. And many companies whose CFO will take a look at quality cost from a high level, and they'll look at company-wide measures coming out of the accounting system. Well, that's not going to work for an individual project, because projects, first of all, don't align with the cost accounting categories. Okay? And also, a project has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And accounting just goes on forever. So quality cost metrics can be adapted to use for individual projects. See, there is that global application. Take a broad view from the top down, start with your cost accounting data, and then use some more detailed transactional data maybe, and then you compare improvements over months and years. This is a company-wide global application. But we can use it applied to a project in a local area, measuring specific actions and activities, comparing what we were spending before we made the lean improvement and what we were spending after the lean improvement, and then examine the return on investment on this lean project. That's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to really focus on local applications. So, here's our case study. So you're looking at a spreadsheet, or rather a part of a spreadsheet. But a simple spreadsheet can help document and calculate this. So here we have a manufacturing firm. They're applying lean to a production area. The facility makes, let's call them widgets. And they cost about $20 each to produce. Before the lean project began, there were several cost areas affected. And even though they were profitable, again, company still making money, the managers felt that lean could provide some kind of a benefit. So let's look at the cost of monitoring what's going on before you begin implementing lean. So we've got two different categories that are affected by this monitoring cost of quality. We have inspection and we have management review. So inspection takes about 4 labor hours in a year. Labor rate it doesn't happen very often. They're doing very light inspection. $25 is the labor rate. Notice, for manager review, whenever something goes wrong, the managers get involved, and then they have a meeting. And, of course, managers are paid more than inspectors, so they're at $65 an hour. We also have some material losses that happen during inspection. We lose 5 items every time we do this, and that's $120 because it's $20 a piece. So our total costs for inspection are $700, and our manager review is $1,105. So see, that's not hard to do. The green boxes, by the way, are where you put inputs. This is the numbers that you collect when you're looking at your project to try to determine what's going to happen. So let's move on and talk about waste. Production waste calculations prior to implementing lean. We're going to put a dollar value on our process scrap of $10 per piece, half of what the finished cost is. I mean, if you have multiple scrap locations, you can have them as individual rows, and you can price them accordingly. So our process scrap in this operation, 1,200 scrapped items a year at $10 a piece, and then our inventory discards happen because of some kind of some change, okay? Obsolescence due to design changes. See, this is one of the things that lean helps you with. If you have less inventory, you will have fewer discards when you make a change. That's one of the values of lean. Very often, lean implementations look at that very closely, but here we're just going to include it as a single row. So 4,500 items were scrapped each year, and $20 a piece because they were finished items. And so that comes up with our $90,000. Now the other thing is that in lean, there's a number of wastes in lean, okay? We're not going to go through what all the wastes are. You've probably seen the acronyms, TIMWOOD, or a number of other acronyms, each one being a type of waste. But let's focus on product movements. We'd spend 75 labor hours a year at $35 an hour to move things around. Okay, and so you would count all of the movements here. And then later on, we would count the reduced movements after the lean improvements were made. Obviously, your spreadsheet could have many more rows than this. Okay, so here's the before cost. Okay, notice we've added another column over to the right. Before or after. So we add up all these costs, all these various items, okay? Product movements and process scrap and inventory discards, inspection, so on and so forth. So this is just from the other one. Again, and I want you to note here that we haven't sorted these yet. We've just listed them as before or after. Now, we have some after costs we've added though. Process scrap went from 1,200 down to 75 because of process improvements. Okay. Inventory discards went from 4,500 down to 200. Well, that's an impact of lean. You'd have to measure that, what's been going on. Your product movements, they cut it almost in half, more than half, from 75 down to 35. There were also changes made in inspection. We've gone down to one inspection now and only one manager review because they've streamlined that operation. Again, it's possible that when you do a lean project, you might actually increase your inspection in after. I mean, you might find that, hey, we're not looking at this enough. We don't know what's happening here. So you would add more to your monitoring cost. That's a possibility. Now, let's total up our savings here. We go over to the next, we've hidden some of the columns here. So we have our total costs and then before or after. Those were on the previous chart. But then we separate before and after into two columns depending on the word. This is just a formula in Excel. You know, if that cell says, quote, before, then put the number here. Otherwise, put the number over there. That's a simple if-then statement. So you end up with, you know, a column marked savings. Now the column is actually just totals, but they are negative numbers in the after costs when they are savings. See down there at the bottom and in the middle? They're negatives. So we add up the numbers over to the side, and in terms of inspection and manager review, we've actually saved $2,200. In terms of process scrap and inventory and product movements, we've saved $110,000. Okay, now let's take a look at what it cost us to do this. What did we spend to get here? This is something that oftentimes is left out when you're doing an analysis project. What did your lean project cost you? Well, first of all, you needed to do training, some basic lean training. We had 25 people and we spent 5 one-hour sessions to do that. And so you can see the line says training, 1 hour per session, 5 sessions, 25 people. Average labor cost was $39. Then what else did we do? Well, we bought some new software for control and analysis. That cost us $750. Well, then there needed to be some planning for the 5 managers to figure out what's going on. And they ended up with 12 planning sessions that spent an hour at each time. And these 5 managers met 12 times. $39 is the average labor cost. So that was $23.40. Then we had to do some test runs. 4 half-day test runs. There were 4 people involved in each test. And we had to scrap 500 parts for each of these tests, for these 4 test runs total. So the testing cost us $11,000. Needed to buy some new tooling. Lean and Poka-Yoke indicated we needed to change some of our tooling around. And tooling changes is relatively expensive, but that was $3,500 they spent on that. They did 4 5S projects. These are sub-projects. There were 10 people involved in each one. 2 hours times 4 sessions, $25 an hour, because these were relatively lower paid people. And so that was $2,000 invested in 5S. Finally, we discovered that we needed to change our documentation. This always has to be done. You've got to keep your documentation up to date. And so they spent an hour, 5 times an hour, and then one person was doing it. It cost them $39. So it's $195 to update your documentations. So we invested $25,000 to get this. So $25,000 investment. We saved $110,000. What was the ratio? Well, for each $1 that you invested, you got $4.38 back again. Another way to look at that is, how long did it take you to earn back the $25,000 investment? 2.7 months? Pretty good return, isn't it? So here's the total spreadsheet. And by the way, if you'd like a copy of the spreadsheet, ask me. Send me an email, and I will send you the spreadsheet. No charge. Okay. You'll notice on this total, downstream consequences just has a NA on it. In this particular project, they decided we don't know what the downstream consequences are, and we don't have any way to measure it. Okay? And yes, I'm not going to be able to collect your email addresses out of the chat, but just send me an email when we're done here. Just email me. My email address will be at the end. You don't always have to measure downstream consequences, but just in case there was something going on, let's say you had outstanding warranty costs that were huge, okay? Enormous warranty costs. Well, you'd want to put them in here. If your lean project reduced your warranty costs, you'd want to add it here. We're just not showing it here because, again, in many cases, it's really hard to know what happens after the fact. So here's our conclusions. Cost to quality can be added to any lean process. As a matter of fact, you could do this for any improvement project. There's no restriction here. It does show you where you need to go next, because you can apply this in a before sense to any operation. Finally, showing your leadership these numbers will keep them on board, keep them focused. One of the biggest issues with a lean implementation is what happens when the leadership get bored. What happens when they're tired of it? What happens when they think of some other new buzzword, okay? And they go after that new buzzword. Look, if you're showing them the returns, it's going to keep them on track. Because, again, all strategy is done in dollars and cents. Okay, so here's my email address. You can take a picture of this. You can get me on LinkedIn, or you can capture my email address. I know it's kind of long here, but doug@dcwoodconsulting.com. It will also be in the email that we send out within 4 days. You'll get the email in 4 days. And this will allow you to follow up. Okay, so Shobha, do we have any questions?